Is Washington listening to you and your FDA?
Well, good morning. Yes, absolutely. I think particularly around the vaccine, we have been getting the message out that our terrific career scientists have been looking critically at all the data and made a decision based upon the science and data. And we're very confident about the safety and efficacy of these vaccines.
Dr. Stephen Hahn, it comes down to a confidence and a trust, and it's one thing to see the president-elect out being shot. Have you had the vaccine yet, sir?
I have not, and that's not because of any lack of trust. I'm waiting for my turn based upon risk factors. I do actually have adult children, one child who's received it, and so that should tell you a lot about my confidence in it, that's for sure.
Where do we need to get to with the vaccines? Are you and the FDA more focused on a broad set of vaccines, or are you focused on the millions required to get to that hurdle rate that is magical?
So we're focused on both because it's really important. So we need to get to the point where we have herd immunity in the United States, frankly, around the world, to stop the spread of this virus. And experts think that 70 to 80% of the population vaccinated or have had the disease. So there's a multi-pronged approach. One is working with the developers of the vaccines still in development, to help get them through the development process, through the clinical trials, and then an application to us, at which point we will review the full data package. And then also making sure that we're working with the manufacturers of the 2 authorized vaccines to make sure there's as much ramp up as possible. And that includes providing information about the supply chain, also making sure that there's a high quality of manufacturing, which we believe there is.
Commissioner, how do you combat accusations of political interference in the very medical deliberations of the FDA?
So our response is to be transparent. As you know, in June and then in October, we issued guidance around the vaccines. And we've done this we've issued more guidance this year than in that period of time than I think we ever have. And the reason for that is we wanted everyone out there who is developing medical products to know what our thinking was. What would we need to see in order to do an authorization for any medical product? Now, particularly for vaccines, we put those guidances out so that the manufacturers would know what information to send to us in an application. We stuck to that guidance. We followed that guidance, and we had unprecedented transparency around our review process with an open public discussion of the data. No other regulatory agency in the world has done that. I think that provided great confidence to the American people.
Dr. Hahn, we look at Silver Spring, Maryland, and the set of buildings that you have out there and the heritage back to how America didn't do thalidomide like so many others. And you dovetail it over your career, Dr. Fauci's career, who folks will be with Bloomberg later, the good people at CDC as well. Are you confident we can get our science back into the system?
Oh, I'm 100% confident. It's been such a privilege to work with our scientists. I have come in my career as an oncologist to depend upon the FDA. I know that my colleagues in medicine do as well. What I can tell you is that every decision that we made has been based upon the existing scientists. We've had to be pragmatic. We've had to make decisions based upon limited data sets, but we've always updated them as more data came in, and we will continue to do that. And our decisions are made by career scientists at the FDA.
I want you to address for those listening and watching right now, Dr. Hahn, the shock of anaphylactic shock or something of that variance. Walk through the statistics you have learned about what we see in the modern media. We go up to Alaska, wherever, and someone is shocked by the giving of the vaccine. Put that in the proper science perspective.
Yeah, really important. This is such a great question, and I'll put my doctor hat on because when you talk to someone about a side effect, if it's uncommon or not, you put it in plain language. So the way I would describe this is the clinical trial data from the vaccines did not show a serious risk of anaphylaxis, that most serious side effect. But if there is a side effect that's 1 in a million, let's just use that as an example, or 1 in 500,000. You're less likely to have anaphylaxis than you are to get into trouble walking across the street in a crowded road. And so it's a very low frequency event. If it does occur, we're monitoring these very closely. And as you scale up vaccination and you vaccinate millions of people, you might see a very uncommon event. It's why people have to be observed. It's why we have to have the protection there should an allergic event occur. We believe it's a very uncommon event. We're still looking into some of these events that have been reported. We take them very seriously, and we'll continue to provide that information to the American people.
Dr. Hahn, we learned in February and March the dynamics of a horrific virus. It's a three-form differential equation, folks. All you need to know is there's a lot of moving parts. I want you to go back to Rice University and the math that you did years ago on when we can say all clear, based on the complex moving parts of multiple vaccines, booster shots, and the thirst to get the vaccine of America. When can you say within a window we will be all clear?
So, I learned a long time ago as a cancer doctor, I don't have a crystal ball. My sincerest hope that in 2021 we will achieve herd immunity and we can put this pandemic behind us.
That was way too short a question there. I think Dr. Hahn really didn't want to talk about that, but you got out nicely to 2021. Johnson & Johnson, I believe, has a distinction of some form of vaccine without a booster shot. Partition vaccines with a booster shot and those without. One-shot efficacy.
So this is all based upon the development process. And in the development process, you move from developing the vaccine with a platform to animals to humans. And it's during that development process that a developer would figure out, do you need one shot or two shots to get the sort of immunity that you think would protect people? So as it's publicly known, J&J has a vaccine that's one shot, not two. If that passes through the development process and we see great efficacy and safety, that would be a really terrific event for us. We have to see what the clinical trial data, though, show to determine whether it's safe and effective.
I believe the countable statistic, Dr. Hahn, is 4 offspring. I think that's what you've generated here in a wonderful marriage over X number of years. How will the Hahns handle the Christmas social life of a family as Prime Minister Johnson and, frankly, President Trump are focused on? How do the Hahns do the holiday season?
Well, we socially distant. We normally have a big gathering, 20, 25 people. We're not doing that this year. Immediate family. If we do have non-immediate family in the area, we're going to socially distance and wear masks. But we're going to keep it very, very limited this year. And there'll be other Christmases. What's really important is to protect the most vulnerable and to prevent community spread. We all have a responsibility there.
One final question, Dr. Hahn. Of course, the news at Pfizer in some form of many millions of new vaccines for America. When do we say fully vaccinated or at least mostly vaccinated for the elderly, the true aged, and also for the essential workers in our hospitals?
So the CDC and the ACIP committee has labeled this 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1A and 1B fits for most of those folks that you're talking about. And I believe the schedule at this point is that we can get almost all of those people vaccinated by the first quarter, so by the end of March, maybe sooner. And so we're working really hard at FDA with hand in hand with CDC to try to get as many vaccines out there as possible and work with the manufacturers to ramp up manufacturing.